Hello. Hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome. Sabah al-khair. Buongiorno. Thank you for coming to this session, Connecting Youth Globally to Make an Impact Locally, Teaching Sustainability. My name is Omar Tarabishi. I'm a program officer for Arabic language programs at Qatar Foundation International. We're located in Washington, D.C. and are a member organization of Qatar Foundation. Before I pass the mic off to my colleague Jennifer Geis, who will be moderating today's session, we have a quick video message from the Italian ambassador to Qatar, Alessandro Prunas, who unfortunately was not able to be here today. He gives his regards, and these are his remarks. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, and greetings from Doha. I'm the ambassador of Italy in Qatar, and I'm delighted to welcome you in Milano on the occasion of the pre-COP events and activities. I'm very excited that the delegation of Qatar Foundation and Qatar Foundation International, as well, of course, as the attendees of Youth for Climate are in Italy as a tangible expression of the vibrant Qatari civil society. Communities in our countries and all around the world have a lot to say against climate change. Their commitment to this global fight can really make the difference. Young people, especially the most concerned by the future of the planet, need to be heard and need to be involved more and more in shaping the international agenda on climate change. They have to have their saying on how we must act. Their energy, enthusiasm, and innovative ideas are key to find sustainable solutions for all. The Embassy of Italy in Doha and Qatar Foundation have started since last year a collaboration to raise awareness on climate change and plastic waste. We have cooperated to highlight the achievements of bilateral partnerships and projects in the sectors of research and innovation. We want to continue on this path, to encourage local communities to contribute to find solutions to global issues because every voice counts. I'd like to wish a fruitful pre-COP to all of you. I cannot wait to meet you once you're back in Doha to listen to your achievements in Milano. Thank you. Grazie mille.
Good morning, everyone. Buongiorno. It's really an honor to be here with all of you, and I'm grateful for the words of the ambassador. My name is Jennifer Geist, and I'm a global education consultant. I work with NGOs, foundations, schools, teachers, students across the world, looking for innovative ways to bring global perspectives into the classroom. One of the tools that I use is virtual exchange. Helping teachers and organizations find their synergies and ways to learn together rather than about each other, learn with each other. I also am interested in digital media and media literacy, service learning, and I've been working with the Sustainable Development Goals since they were the 8 millennial goals, so for quite a long time. It's really an honor to be on the stage with all of you today. Our hope for the panel today is to illuminate some of these types of projects and to really hear from people who have been working in the field and actually on the ground doing this work. For the past 3 years at QFI, one of my endeavors has been to QFI is really an incubator for good ideas in education, and I've done many projects with them over the years, and for the past 3 years, I've been working to curate them into a series of professional development courses for teachers. You can see in the top of the slide, there is a screenshot of our online learning community. It's called Connect with QFI. And we offer professional development courses in virtual exchange, multimedia collaboration, storytelling, and other means of bringing students across the globe together to learn together, as I said. This platform is completely free. I encourage everyone to log on and get a membership and join the Connect Through QFI community. We also make announcements about opportunities that QFI offers for teachers and students. One of the things I want to say is the courses are all self-paced, and there are teachers from all over the world. There's over 1,000 members, so it's a really interesting, very dynamic community. I am the moderator of all of the courses, so I hope you'll join me. I'll meet you there. So this fireside chat is intended to inspire you through the stories and the work of these guests. You will hear about their shared values and the importance of voice, choice, ownership, and passion for sustainable action, and how educators can foster these elements in educating for the future. So my first guest here is Lina Nayal Al-Tara. I always struggle with your last. Taraneh. Oh, thank you. Lina's from Doha. I met Lina in 2016 during the first Commit to Action program, which was one of these QFI programs that I referenced. And we studied the Sustainable Development Goals and looked students from many different locations across the world. We met virtually. And we studied the Sustainable Development Goals, and we looked at how the issues manifest in each of our local communities and how we could share perspectives on the same issues and talk about what they have in common, what the global perspective offers in finding solutions to those problems, as well as the differences and how we had to address them differently in our local communities. There's not just one global solution to each problem. So Lina was I've really enjoyed my relationship with her over the last, I guess, 5 or 6 years. She developed the Green Mangroves Project during that first virtual exchange learning experience, and she's going to talk about that today. Lina?
Okay, perfect. Hello? Oh, perfect. Okay. Hi, my name is Lina Nayal Al-Tara, the one with the really hard last name. I'm a medical student and also the co-founder of Green Mangroves, and I'll be explaining a bit about the project in a second. Green Mangroves was basically founded in 2015 with my sister, and Green Mangroves is a nonprofit project where we believe in taking people outdoors to discuss things that matter. And the goal basically is to protect the oceans, one kayak, one idea, and one person at a time. And before I delve into what we do in the Green Mangroves, I'd love to explain a bit about the mangrove trees. So mangrove trees are basically trees that grow in seawater. So the fascinating thing about them is they're able to take in all the salt water and filter it out. And on the back of their leaves, they basically push out the salt out of their systems. And if you were to actually lick any of the mangrove leaves, you'll find that it tastes really salty. Another fascinating thing about them is that they're able to absorb 3 times more carbon dioxide than anywhere in forestry. So they're really important carbon sinks for climate change. And when I first visited the area, I noticed that the mangrove kind of roots, they do not grow downward into the soil, they actually grow upward. And I just saw these tiny sticks poking out of the ground, and I realized these were the roots that basically go out in the air to get the oxygen, because the soil they grow in is very low in oxygen. And they're also they serve as the nurseries for baby fish. So fish come and lay their eggs in the mangrove areas, and the fish kind of grow, they find all the nutrients to basically flourish, and then they go out in the big wide world. So that's what mangroves are, and now I'll be talking about what do we do at Green Mangroves. So in Green Mangroves, we organize flow coast trips in a financially sustainable project that we take people out on kayaking trips, where we basically kayak around the mangrove areas and we explore the gem that we aim to protect. We also do yoga retreats, so we go out in the morning before the sun rises, we do yoga retreats on the shore. And when I'm not basically kayaking out in the mangroves, you can find me in schools and universities talking to children about the fascinating world of mangroves. We've also been to Harvard, and it was an amazing experience meeting with all the climate activists. There's something I'd love to bring forward today, which is something I've noticed throughout the years working in this field, is that usually action for climate change stems from fear. And I think we need to change that narrative. I think it has to stem out from fierce love for the world we want to create. And that's why we take people out kayaking, because we believe that if we are able to take people outside to the outdoor experiences and connect them with the beautiful nature, they take a dip in the sea, go for a swim, they basically realize how beautiful this world is and how worth protecting it is. And that's how we aim to propel people to act out of love and not fear. And that's it for my part. I think I'll pass it to Owais, who's an amazing education above all youth advocate, and he'll take it off from there.
Good. Hello? Yes. Hey everyone, my name is Owais Salahi. I'm a communications student, and I'm an education above all youth advocate. I'm also the co-founder of the SDG Generation Network, a network I established with a dear friend, a network that sets to create a platform for the youth, from the youth, and it's a platform, one of its kind in the Middle East, where we have a platform where we can engage and involve the youth in the Sustainable Development Goals. One of the biggest realizations we want to deliver to the youth is that we do have positions in achieving sustainability. And finishing off from what Lena said, I think that it's really important that we establish our roles in society, and we establish that we as youth do have positions and do have passions and narratives that can be easily engaged with the Agenda 2030. So in hopes of engaging the youth and moving towards to a better world and a better environment, we would love for the youth to have their roles in the Sustainable Development Goals and go ahead on the journey of sustainability. So I established the SDG Generation alongside with my friend Angelan Al-Kabi 3 years ago, and this came after a really enticing experience, and we'll talk a little later on about this. But I'm very happy to be here, and this is an amazing panel, and we're excited to tell you our story. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Cynthia Bolton, and I have been with Cutter Foundation as an educator for the last 5 years. I was brought to Cutter Foundation to establish gifted education. And there was a lot of question, especially from our Western educators, that there couldn't be gifted students in Doha. And I was bound and determined to prove them wrong, and I did. And so when we established our gifted education programs, we found that the students in Doha had amazing ideas. They had amazing abilities, and they had a passion for things that were untapped. Flash forward 5 years, we recently started a department within the pre-university education umbrella called Learning 365. And Learning 365, the concept of Learning 365 is to offer these passionate youth a platform and an opportunity to extend their learning outside of the classroom walls. It really is that next tier, high impact, niche opportunities that students such as these need to find their passions and to really have that those educators that can support them and provide them with that opportunity to reach beyond what just the regular classroom curriculum might do. I'm excited that we are a brand new department, but we are moving in areas, not only in curriculum areas of maths and sciences, but we have established and supported students with the fine arts, recently launching a musical theater project, and are working on some amazing opportunities for students to explore areas of the world that previously may have not been explored in a traditional classroom setting. For example, we're looking at an opportunity for students to go and climb a mountain. And really explore the opportunities of sustainability and the environment that are part of that experience for students. So thanks to this great panel to give me a platform for sharing the work that we do in Qatar Foundation. One of the things that we is so important for us is that schools have these opportunities to spark those passions in students. And one of the organizations that we've partnered with, Qatar Foundation International, which is a sister organization to the pre-university education, and they offer the Tower Gardens and the virtual exchange. And I'm going to share a short video about our students in the classroom participating in the virtual exchange environment.
My name is Barry Grogan. I'm a 5th grade teacher here at QA Sidra. And today we're very excited. We get to undertake a virtual exchange with our partner school in New York City in Brooklyn.
Hi. Hi. Good morning. How are you?
I'm great. We just came back off our holidays, so we're all really well rested. We've been very blessed to have a huge support team from QFI come in and help us out with establishing contact, using the setup of an online platform which has allowed the students to send messages backwards and forwards. They can view work with each other.
As you can see, the fruit is starting to grow here.
Oh, that's cool. What are those?
I'm pretty sure this is bok choy.
Yeah.
Do you want to know what this is?
Yeah, what is that one?
This is lettuce.
This whole idea was new to them. You know, the idea of having a tower garden in our class, they were like, oh, really? And they couldn't really imagine how it looks like, how the plants will be really growing until they did see it.
What is that?
It's kind of like squash, then with rice in it.
The first time when we got online and we spoke face to face, the kids were really engaged. They were very happy and excited to see the other Tower Garden sitting in the classroom over in New York, and they were pretty wowed with the progress and the results of the program over there, and they were curious to know more.
There's always a specific way to grow each seed. So an apple tree you don't put a seed.
They got this kind of like engagement, and they felt, yes, they are, you know, far away from them, but they have the same interests that we have.
Do you have any questions for us?
The purpose is to try and make connections between how food is a universal language that is enjoyed in cultures across the world, and how we can find, through food, ways to understand building a future that is sustainable for us all.
It's really delicious, but sometimes
We all walk around the world with our own ideas of how the world is and should be, and to be able to present somebody with a truth that's different to what they think really challenges them to empathize at a different level.
Our partnership with QFI is more than just growing food. What we're doing is really growing hope, right? We're growing hope and fostering tolerance.
We need to be using technology to allow us to connect on a grander scale outside of ourselves and to look for common connections, and to start to build relationships so that we can collaborate to solve shared problems.
What's your favorite food in Doha?
I think success is when I see, a student from Qatar and then a student from the US coming together and meeting for the first time, but then, going back to their own communities and kind of still having that link.
It is really about getting people to understand that we share space on a planet and we all have to be good citizens.
Thank you so much for that video. I mean, it's really, there's so much in that video, and what stands out for me is the connection, just repeating over and over again, connecting with each other really is the secret. It's, and of course, with the pandemic, we've all found new ways to connect and to stay connected. It's really great. We've all been saying how great it is to be here in Milan because it's one of the first times we've actually physically been in the same space with each other. The other thing that I really wanted to call out from the video, as I watch it and I watch all of those children's faces, I ask myself, in what ways were their lives changed through this experience? And I can really imagine that life will be different for them going forward because they had that connection and that experience. And that sort of leads me to my question for everyone. It's about spark. Like, where was that initial spark for you? What was the moment, the defining moment in your life where you said, I'm going to get involved. I'm going to use my time on this planet to be engaged and to make a difference. And I have that question for everyone on the panel. I wonder, Awais, would you like to kick us off with that?
Yes. So I do believe that I've had numerous sparks in my life that led to wanting to make a change. The first being when I was 14 years old. I was in school, and we would usually play on the playground. And we would go outside and see like the ground like filled with like numerous plastics and litter, and no one was really caring about it, like being the kids that we were back in the day. We weren't aware of the climate, we weren't aware of the environment and our responsibility. So it was after this experience that one of our fellow teachers, I believe, was an art teacher, and she sat us down and she spoke to us and she told us that if we aren't going to care for this world, then who will? We are the future generation, and it's in our hands. So we need to go and physically pick up the trash and move forward, because these small habits do eventually gather into creating a big impact. And I feel like these words really resonated with us, and after that experience we actually went to setting up an environmental club in the school where we would regularly go on every Friday of the week, and we would go and pick out litter with the cleaners, and they would help us segregate the litter based on the material. They would talk to us about the process on how it gets recycled, how the landfills fill up, and how by leaving the litter and not caring about it, the disadvantages that it causes to this world. And I feel like that really resonated with us as youth. And I think it was from this moment that I set out to want to break the barrier. I was tired of following a protocol and a system and being told what to do as a member of the youth, that I just have to go to school, I have to focus in class, I have to graduate, and that's it. And the life cycle goes on and on again. I wanted to be someone extraordinary. I want to be remembered when I leave. And I want to be able to give back to this world, because the world gave us a clean, safe environment, and we need to keep it that way. Thank you.
That sort of goes to Lena's comment about changing the narrative, not working from fear, but working out of a sense of gratitude and appreciation for the planet. How old were you when that teacher...
I was 14.
When the teacher came to you and said, yeah, it's... and Lena would tell us about your aha moment, or when it changed. Yeah.
So my spark kind of came in a very similar age to Awais. I was 15 years old. I was born in Qatar, so it's a predominantly desert country surrounded by sea. So I'm not used to seeing greenery as much. And I remember once we were on a road trip with my family, and we ended up spotting these forests in the sea. And I was mind blown. I was like, where did this come from? So we ended up exploring the area, and that was basically the mangrove forests. And I was fascinated by the amount of greenery and the beauty, but at the same time, I was seeing litter all around. And at that time, I was looking more into, okay, what can I do as an individual? I'm going to expand later on with other questions about the link. But that was kind of the first spark that led to Green Mangrove's birth. And I would like to talk also about the renewed spark, because sometimes we go with projects and we kind of start to lose passion and things start to get really hard, that it starts to get really hard to move forward. And the second spark was when Jennifer actually sent me a documentary called Albatross. And this documentary talks about, it's an artistic and a philosophical documentary that talks about birds, albatross birds, off the coast of the US, where they live on an island that all of the plastic waste washes on it. And the birds think that when they see the plastic in the water, they eventually think it's fish. So the mother birds or the father birds, they come and pick the plastic, and then they feed it to the baby chicks on the island. And unfortunately, the chicks kind of ingest the plastic, blocks out their digestive system, and they die quite a horrible death, unfortunately. And my love for the natural world, my love for the birds and this biodiversity, it kind of made me kind of see love being greater than all of the obstacles I was seeing in the project. And I think that was the renewed spark that kept me going, yeah.
Leave it to me to send you the most devastating documentary. It's called Albatross, and it's so worth seeing. It's a beautiful film and really does connect to the emotional part of us that loves our planet. And Cynthia, tell us about your spark.
I think my spark takes a little different direction because I was drawn to education. And my spark happened at a very similar age when I was about 14, 15 years old. And I had the opportunity to visit a very impoverished part of the United States and understand the fascination that these students had with us as young people giving back to them. And that was really, for me, the time that drew me to education and drew me to see that the students, when they have that, those people that are important in their lives, they can move mountains. And it was a really passionate opportunity.
So one of the things that when we were preparing to speak with you today, we talked about, this spark, this initial thing that made us think, this is how I'm going to live my life. And I encourage all of you just to take a second and think about what was your spark. What happened when you said, I'm going to engage with the world and not just sort of just move through my life unconsciously. In education, we're all about creating these opportunities, generating more and more opportunities, more ideas to expose students. And I think the film did a great job of showing, what the opportunities actually look like. So let's take a couple minutes to talk about opportunities. So the opportunities that came your way, and you made the choice, I'm going to take this opportunity. What happened, and how did it lead you forward? How did it push you to the next level? How did you take it to the next level?
So I remember at the same time that I visited the island, I also came across Qatar Foundation International's program called Call to Action, where they basically select youth who have ideas for service projects, and then they take them through leadership training and they connect them with the right network to carry those projects forward. And that was when I realized that, perhaps I could just take this individual action of going on to cleaning up this particular area on my own or with my friends to something much bigger. And that's where the connection was made. So I joined Qatar Foundation International's kind of leadership program and training program. And it was then that I realized how big of an impact you can actually have if you're connected with the right opportunities and the right people. I think that was the time, yeah. And also with Qatar Foundation's Call to Action, there were so many international students coming together. So you had this kind of mixture of people with all these different ideas about education, about public health, about environment, who really came together, and they led to development of things I never thought about in my project. Yeah.
That's great. Awais?
I feel like we live in a time where the youth are compromised, where the youth aren't expected to do much, and as I mentioned before, we're expected to go on life's journey as if it's a checklist. So we don't always have opportunities, and I think it's very rare to sometimes find opportunities where the youth would have a platform and would be able to express their thoughts and actually engage without being directed and fed information. I feel like that's a very important point to focus on. Like during my upbringing, I would say that I was always a vocal person. I liked delivering my opinions and like speaking my thoughts out. The idea of the environmental club in school was just the beginning of me wanting to make a change. And this idea actually came from a group of students I was with when we all came to a realization that we do have a responsibility. I would say that after the environmental club, I was honored to represent Qatar a youth assembly conference with Education Above All. And that was in New York, and that was the first time that I got exposed to the Sustainable Development Goals. And there were 17 goals. It was fascinating to me that they were established in 2015, and they're so holistic. There are 17 goals, and they include everything that we need to become a sustainable world in. So I went back to Doha after the conference, and I asked my friends, I asked around, and no one really knew what the Sustainable Development Goals were. So I set it as my mission to make the community aware as much as I can and portray the message of how important these goals are. We're all set to reach goals by 2030, and that also includes our national vision. And yet many members of our community weren't aware of these goals, and the youth didn't have a clear role in the achievement of sustainability. So, of course, that's a concern to me, being someone that's passionate and someone that wants my country to succeed. I set it as an approach to create an opportunity for the youth rather than joining something. And that's when I established my own platform with one of my friends to portray and spread the message and give the youth a chance to realize that we do have roles, we do have seats at the table. We don't necessarily have to wait for opportunities, but rather create them for ourselves and allow the world to realize that we, the youth, have potential and we have ideas, but we're not being heard. Like, I'm surrounded by amazing people with amazing mindsets and ideas, but they just don't have the necessary resources or the platforms to portray those ideas onto. During the establishment of the platform, I came across Education Above All, a wonderful nonprofit that focuses on providing education to as many people as possible. They've recently passed the 10 million people mark, which is an amazing achievement. And this was really a vision that aligned with what I believe in. I believe in SDG 4 and SDG 13, climate action and quality education, which are very dear to me. And
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? It was SDG 4 is education, and what's the other one?
13 is climate action.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. And these were goals that aligned with the vision that I have as sustainability, and that's when I came on board to the youth advocacy program.
Could you give us kind of an example of like when you said realizing that youth can, they don't have to, they have ideas, and is there an example of like how you came together with an idea and went out and made it happen rather than waiting for someone to come to you and say, what's your idea? Do you have an example?
Yes, I do. So we realized that many cafes in Qatar were using plastic straws, and we're a population that loves our coffee. We set out to establish a mini initiative where we went into cafes, we spoke to the owners and the management, and we managed to convince many cafes to hop on board the sustainability journey, and that's when they changed it to paper straws. So that was something.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Congratulations. I have to say, as a alleged adult, I'm much more impressed and likely to follow the directions of young people. I don't know what it is, but it comes from such an inspired place rather than just following a rule. So I really appreciate that example. Yeah. Cynthia, can you talk about opportunities? You're like the opportunity queen. You're about creating opportunities, and they've given us examples of like that. How do you take it to the next level and actually, as Awais said, you know, inspire young or champion young people to be a person of consequence, I think, as always said.
I think it really is, a lot of it is shown in this picture. This is a great example of what our schools are doing in Qatar Foundation, and they are exposing students to these amazing causes at a very young age, and that is changing the way that they think, it's the changing the way that they act, and helping them to go on to be these guys. And so it really comes down to exposure, and I think as educators, we have an obligation to expose students, and when we find those students have a passion in a specific area, that we then have an obligation to support them and help them to ignite and to extend those passions into something real. One of the things that many of the Qatar Foundation schools, not all of them, but many of them are IB schools. At the end of the primary years program, there's an exhibition, and it's absolutely amazing to see the projects and the action that these students have taken. At the end of the middle years program, in grade 10, there is another action project called the Personal Project. And those students have then now taken it to another level. I remember a child, or student, not a child, because she was in grade 10, who created the Brownie Society. And she wanted a project that helped raise money for Syria. And so one of her passions was baking, and her other passion was supporting these causes of the world that were so near and dear to her heart. And so she took this upon herself and raised well over 6,000 rial in a very short amount of time, which is about 1,500 euro, just because she was encouraged to pursue a passion of hers. And we see this quite often in our schools, and these things, these personal projects take off and have a life of their own. And I think that's a testament to the fabulous educators, the fabulous mentors that we have. When we in Learning 365, which is a very new department, see these things and see where these students are taking this, it's our obligation and job to find ways for these students to extend and move beyond. I was talking to, we have some of our fabulous young people in the audience, and one of the gentlemen in the front row made a comment about medicine and how he has a passion for medicine. And so he is looking for those opportunities. So that's what we do, is we make those connections. And we, at Qatar Foundation, have this fabulous ecosystem where we have some major U.S. universities on our campus, as well as great organizations such as Qatar Foundation International under our umbrella. So we have lots and lots of opportunities. It's just a matter of connecting our students to those opportunities.
Thank you. I'm reminded of the Commit to Action program, which is the program that I met Lena through. There was a group of students who, there were 2 young women in Los Angeles, but they went to different schools, 2 in Arizona who went to different schools, and 2 in Qatar who went to different schools. And they met each other online through the Commit to Action program. And in discussing, like, what's your passion, what do you really care about, what is important to you, they discovered that they really had this common concern about mental health. And they shared a lot about their personal lives and as high school students, experiences with things they'd been through and their struggles with things like too much academic pressure, depression, eating disorder, very serious things. And not only things they'd experienced themselves, but of course all of their classmates. And it was a very stressful time. And so they decided that they wanted to do something about it, and they created, through a series of sort of narrowing down, well, what do you actually do? How do you move from being concerned about something? How do you move from there to an actual project? And in their synergy and in that richness of having so many different perspectives, they realize many, many things, but we're able to narrow it to what we really want is better emotional education. We want better, we want our schools to provide us better resources, and we want our teachers to have more training and be more adept at helping us cope with our stress. And we're gonna ask for this. We're gonna lobby for this. And they did research, like on what resources could they bring to their schools? What could they ask for? They started pulling together like lunchtime talks about mental health issues. It was called the Emotional Education Project. And I always loved this project because it was so organic, it was so heartfelt, and it was such a true need that they each had. But also, they realized that what was needed in each location, Los Angeles, rural Arizona, and Doha, what they needed was very different. And the barriers were very different because of cultural things and access to resources. The way mental health issues are stigmatized in each location. So it was that diversity of perspective that came to the project that was also really inspired and made the project so powerful. We've talked about connection, we've talked about passion, we've talked about having opportunities, mentorship, champions in education. These are the things that make something that you might just have learned about, thought was interesting, connect with it, and actually make it into something that drives your life passion. But it also, I think Owe spoke so beautifully about going to that UN Youth Assembly, and you found your tribe. You found your people who care. And so the other thing that happened in this group who cared about mental health, they were so inspired by each other. And that was so important. And it was really youth with youth, inspiring youth, and adults sort of standing alongside, just cheering them on, and how can I help? And there's one more thing. There was a shooting at a school while this group was working, the Parkland shooting. And I think anyone who remembers this, it was the young people who galvanized after that, and they went to Washington and said, we want something done about gun control because we don't want to live this way. So it's just such a, and the students in the Emotional Education Project thought, wow, are we in the right place at the right time? This is the issue of our moment that we want to engage with, you know, and that was, I think, 4 years ago, and they continue their work. That's the other thing. It's sustainable because it's driven by passion. So, question, what's next? What do you think we need to do next? We have educators, we have administrators, we have students, we have journalists, we have people from all different disciplines in our audience. What's next? Where would you like to see youth engagement with climate go?
All right, I ended up going to medical school, which was a huge dilemma for me because in the first year, I spent my time looking at the forest fires in Australia and at the same time studying all the nerves that innervate which hand and then what causes which movement in which finger. So, and I was studying these minute anatomical details while I was seeing all of these catastrophes happening around the world. And I was left feeling angry and confused. I was thinking maybe I should have done policy or ecology to help with the situation. But then I came to realize that both medicine and also climate change activism are both healing processes. And so many of the times right now, so we get like lots of chronic diseases like heart disease and also cancers because of the way we live, the food we eat, the way we've destroyed our soils. And if we are able basically to bring those two healing processes together to bring back human health and also regenerate landscapes, I think we have mastered those two fields. There's been this amazing project in Norway called the Forest Hospital, where they've actually built wooden cabins surrounding the hospital for pediatrics. And they actually bring the children out to the cabins and they let them kind of run around in nature under like supervision. And at the same time, they would regenerate the landscapes. So if you're able to bring those two pieces together, that's where I kind of see myself going. That's my vision.
Such a great vision. It also shows the interconnectedness. Medicine is not separate from environment. It's all interconnected. I love that. Yeah. Awais, where do you see, what would you like to see and what will you do?
I believe that education is the foundation of knowing how to approach things, not necessarily knowing what's right. I don't believe that you need an education to know what's right. And I believe the topic of climate change is actually a responsibility to all human beings. I believe that in the field of educators, we should open more doors for the youth. We should allow them to pursue in the direction that they want to go in. And we shouldn't really limit them to certain subjects or certain paths in their lives, because everyone has a passion, everyone has a fire inside. And it's only a matter of time until they discover what that fire is, especially when it comes to the youth. I definitely believe that organizations, NGOs, and governments should start focusing more on what the youth wants. And I'm talking about the field of climate change and making the world a better place. And I believe that the youth should have positions and voices in these systems, because at the end of the day, they are the future generation. We are going to be the people that are going to face the consequences of what's going on now. So I feel like we at least deserve a chance to pitch our opinions and talk and direct the systems in the way that we would for the world that we wish to live in. So I feel like education is key. Raising awareness is key as well. And the topic of climate change is really linked to a behavior in my definition. I feel like once we are aware of the consequences, once we are aware of our social responsibility, that's when we go out and strive to change. And it all depends on knowing the pros and the cons and reading and really educating yourself on the matter.
So really sort of internalizing the truth of it. And I just want to touch back to Lena's connect these two. Lena's comment of not from fear, but more from love and understanding, and you sort of, it's a different place and a different inspiration. And through education, we can, I love that. And that's really the focus of your work right now. Congratulations. Yeah. Cynthia, what's next?
I have to sit and listen to Awais here and just beam from ear to ear, because it really is the education outside the classroom. What we do from 7 to 2 while kids are sitting in our math classes and science classes are really so they can go on to that next level, right? To go on to university. But when we're really educating is when we're allowing them to pursue their passions. When we as educators are supporting them, being on the side, listening to them, letting them take the lead. That's when the education really happens. And I think one of the things that a lot of schools are not doing right is focusing only on those core subjects that students need to get those credits. It's those after-school activities, it's the weekend things, it's the things during the break, it's the trips that make the difference, it's the exposure to really the problems of the world that matter. Giving students an opportunity to be around the adult decision-making table. Giving students the opportunity to give back to their community and encourage them to do so. And that's where the learning happens.
Thank you. I want to call attention again to the professional development courses that are available on the Participate platform through QFI, because it sort of addresses what you're saying, Cynthia. And I know teachers are not educated, their teacher training does not really include a lot of what we're talking about here. And so that's another way that we can change the world, is by changing our approach to education. And these professional development courses are on the Connect with QFI, really intend to, through virtual exchange, through using media, both educating students about media consumption as well as teaching them media production, to be on both ends of media, which of course drives so much of how we learn about the world, really deepens the understanding of how we learn and how we communicate. So through multimedia production, film, and virtual exchange, these courses help teachers make connections for their students, offer these opportunities within the classroom, in class time. It's very hard in our system for teachers to do this, but we have to start somewhere. And so again, I invite you to join and look in on these courses and get a look and a feel for how it would be to start bringing global perspectives into your classroom through these connections and collaborations. So I'd like to open it up to the audience for questions, if anybody has anything they'd like to ask our wonderful panelists. Anybody? I'll give you a minute to think about your questions. And to the panelists, we have just a minute left, but is there, if you'd like to leave a message with everyone, you'd leave sort of a final, this is a big conference, there's a lot of different things that people are hearing and being exposed to. What would you like the one takeaway to be for people that they won't forget after meeting you?
So I think one of the things that have kind of stuck with me is that Maya Angelou once said, "I stand as one, but I come as 10,000. And I'd love to say that Green Mangroves has been the accumulation of work of so many people, and Green Mangroves kind of belongs to all of these people. I've had amazing mentors like Jennifer, Anas, and also Madison, who have really kind of shaped how the project moves forward. And I've also had mentors within my family. So my mom would support me emotionally. She'd bake cakes in the morning for the participants who come on kayaking. I learned bravery from my sister, who hitches up kayaks on the trailer in the middle of the night. So when you put yourself out through these experiences, you don't really necessarily have to be ready with all the tools that you need. You'll get ready on the way. So just get going, just get started, yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's just great. Thank you, Lena. Yeah. Did anyone in the audience think of a question they wanted to ask?
My name is Khalid Nabdi. I just wanted to ask, so we talked about QFI and its courses, but can we have some examples of some of the courses that QFI runs?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear. Can you,
Yeah. My name is Khalid Nabdi, and we've heard a lot about QFI and its courses, so can we have some examples of like some currently running courses or some courses that you're going to plan for the future? Do you have any in mind already?
Way to get right to it. What opportunities are there right now? Great question. So QFI, we had for many years a youth engagement program where we did a lot of direct programming with young people, and which is what we were talking about tonight. With COVID and some other changes in direction, we're not doing quite as much of that direct programming. We're more focused on sharing what we've learned with teachers so that then they can work with their with students and bring these opportunities into the classroom. It actually offers it's a way to hopefully affect more young people. But what I will say is, if you are in school and in a course that would be interested in, or you have a professor or a teacher who would be interested in one of these courses, by getting involved, we call it a community of practice, by encouraging your teachers and even yourself, you can join the courses as well and get into a community of practice. If you are interested in education, the conversations that are happening about how we change education and get more, have more of these opportunities available to more students. And when I say that, students who are on the margins, maybe who don't have access through their school or other community programs, I would say that would be the best way to connect with QFI right now. And I wonder actually if Omar has more things that he would want to mention about that. Oh, there's a, and does anybody here have any direct answer for that question?
I actually will tell, because I know him.
Okay.
I know where he goes to school, but your school has Tower Gardens in the school. And they have an option to participate in the virtual exchange. So I'm going to challenge you to go back to Qatar Academy Doha and find out who in the senior school has those Tower Gardens, and ask that teacher to go to the QFI website and get involved with the Tower Garden Exchange Program. It's an amazing opportunity. We have several different groups of teachers across the Qatar Foundation schools who are currently involved, but I'm not sure if we have one from your school.
That's great. Thank you so much, Cynthia. Great.
That's a really good question. I'm not sure.
Did you want to add to that, Omar?
Yeah. Yes, I do. So here at Qatar Foundation International, we have a number of opportunities for students, administrators, educators, organizations. So to answer some of the questions, I encourage you to go online, check out our website, check out our resources and the opportunities that we're a grant-giving organization that has many opportunities for different educators, students, and organizations. So, you heard a little bit about the QFI online platform today through Participate, which Jennifer is the moderator of. We have other programs that are more student-focused, educator-focused, and a variety of also Arabic language programs on our website.
Fantastic. Are there any other questions in the audience? Thank you. Awais, a final, what would you like people to leave here if they remember nothing else that your message?
I would say that if the system doesn't side with you, be the system. And I say that and...
Could you repeat it?
If the system doesn't side with you, and you have a fire in you, and you have a passion, and you want change, and you believe in something that you believe is right, and it's moral, then become the system. Don't side with the system. Become the system. And if there isn't a role for you, you need to create a role. If the table's full, you need to find a way to put in a seat onto that table. Thank you.
I love it. Be bold. Be bold. Insist. Yeah, it's your life. That's great. Great. And Cynthia, take us home.
I would say as educators, you need to listen. The students have so much to tell you, so much to share. Listen to their passions. Listen to what they want, what fires them. And be that mentor, be that support, be that person that it only takes one. Every child, through their educational experience, should have one person that they know day in and day out cares about them, and be that person.
I really appreciate that, Cynthia, so much. I have been a mentor for about 20 years, and it is an honor to be one of those adults in a young person's life. And it's a serious role, it's a fun role, and it's the role for adults now, is to be champions and to show up, listen, and make the resources that we have gathered available to foment their ideas. It's
time to pass the torch.
Time to pass the torch. Right on. So if there are no more questions, I'd like to close today by thanking you so much and thanking the City of Milan for having us here. And speaking of opportunities, there are young people right now meeting with world leaders as a lead up to Glasgow, and they are taking their seat at the table. They insisted, they got their seat, and they're there, and I'm so excited for the future because of it. So thank you all so much. Thank you for being here.